Today, we live in a world where smartness is preferred over sincerity and truthfulness. If you go to the business world and if you are in the marketing department to market a product, more often than not, these two are not aligned, but they are in contradiction with each other. And if you would like to represent the product as it is, most likely you will be put in another department, but definitely not in the marketing department. Even in life too, not just in the business world, there are so many situations where we end up contradicting ourselves with the idea of perhaps winning over the appreciation of our peers, or on a larger scale in order to get some name and fame and even a little bit of money. And this contradiction might fetch us joy, which is very outer, external in its nature. Because we have got peer appreciation, because we have got a little bit of name and fame and money, we'll feel happy about it. But as we feel happy about it, we might also feel a sense of naggingness on the inside, a sense of contradiction on the inside, which doesn't allow us to enjoy this happiness for long. What happens, even though externally, outwardly we are happy, inwardly we end up being unhappy? What do we do in this situation? Well, we have two options. One, we train ourselves to ignore this naggingness, this feeling of unhappiness, and learn to ignore this something which tells from within that there is a contradiction within you. What you say and what you do is not what you think and what you feel. And this can be done. One can dull oneself to such an extent that we end up ignoring this voice, but this doesn't last for long. And the other option is, of course, to recognize this contradiction, look within ourselves, and try to remove this contradiction. And what happens when we enter into a state of non-contradiction, where what we say and what we do are beautifully aligned with what we think and what we feel? Well, the first thing is when we enter into this state of non-contradiction, which is a state of sincerity, we find that all our energies are flowing without any obstruction, without any hindrance, because there is no contradiction. Our thoughts begin to express themselves with such a power and such a clarity that it becomes a mighty force. Our emotions begin to flow with such intensity that there is nothing that can come in the way. And even our physical energies, when there is no contradiction, they end up by being most potent action that one can imagine. And every act which doesn't carry any contradiction within us, every act which is born out of an absolute and perfect sincerity, carries in it a marvelous sense of joy, a kind of perfection of energies, and a sense of peace which makes it mighty and the most effective in this world. When a disciple asked the mother of Aurobindo Ashram, what is that most fundamental virtue that we need to cultivate in order to prepare ourselves to live a deeper, more meaningful life, the mother answered without hesitation that it is sincerity. And that is why it is so important for us to recognize this nagging sense within us whenever we do or say something which should not be said. Withdraw into ourselves, step back into ourselves, work on removing the contradiction, so that when we remove that obstruction, a mighty action flows through us. An act of sincerity is by itself its own reward. We don't need any external reward in order to be sincere. And this is why we have to make an effort to be sincere.